Oh, that was rough. I apologize. I love that song. I need to learn it. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday edition of StudentLoanJustice.org. I am Alan Collins, founder of Student Loan Justice. If you're new to the group, you're very welcome here. Never mind the piano. You can just skip past the first part of the video. But if you're new to the group, welcome. You're very welcome here. Whatever your political stripes may be, wherever you may be from, whatever your situation. If you're with us on two things, returning bankruptcy rights to student loans and canceling all federally owned student loans by executive order. If you're with us on either or both of those items, you're in. You're welcome here, and we're glad to have you. Spread the word about this group. You know, there's a lot of misinformation going around tonight. One little weird announcement. I heard that former President Trump had announced a plan to abolish the Department of Education. This is something pretty popular on the right. We've heard many Republican politicians say this for many years now. They never really define what that means, and they absolutely never say what they're going to do with the outrageously failed student loan portfolio that the federal government is now sitting on. So that's pretty insincere. You know, it sounds good to say it, but what does it actually mean? So there's that. And, you know, to his credit, before he even ran for president, President Trump decried the fact that the federal government was making a profit on student loans. He said, why does the government see student loans as a profit center? That's ridiculous. It makes no sense. And love him or hate him, Donald Trump was right on that point. Unfortunately, he was a disaster his first 4 years as president. So go figure. But certainly his campaign rhetoric was pretty good. One other quick, very important announcement. We're about halfway towards raising the money that we need to buy a brand new used student loan van. So I don't know if you've been with this group for any length of time, you know, we've traveled the country many, many, many times over the years and decades past. 4 years ago, we traveled all through Iowa, Texas, Missouri, California, Georgia, North Carolina, etc., Washington, D.C. We traveled the country fighting for student loan justice. And I have to tell you guys, it was because of those trips, particularly in Iowa, that we were able to get bankruptcy into the presidential debate. We were able to get first Elizabeth Warren, then Joe Biden to at least include the return of bankruptcy rights into their presidential agendas. And more to the point, guys, it was us that started that petition about canceling student loans by executive order that made it a presidential campaign issue. And we deserve huge amounts of credit for that. And for those of you who were with us back in 2020, 2019, you did all the hard work we needed to get our petition from being completely ignored to sort of discarded to taken seriously to finally 6 months after we started our petition to Elizabeth Warren and Chuck Schumer making this a true national issue. And lo and behold, here we are today. We have a sitting president, love him or hate him, having at least announced a student loan cancellation by executive order. So that all started with us, and you all should be very, very glad. So we are, our van is dead. Our van died. Student loan justice van died. We need another van as quickly as we can get it. We are almost halfway there for raising the money that we need to do that. I initially said $6,000 and we blew past like 3,000 a couple days ago. And so just because I think it's the right thing to do, I raised our fundraising goal for this from 6,000 to 8,000. I think we can get into a better, more reliable vehicle for just a couple extra $1,000. And also there's going to be a lot of costs associated with actually getting the thing, because I'm going to have to fly far away from Wisconsin to buy a vehicle. I'm not doing the rest thing, guys. I'm just not. I got to fly to Arizona or Texas or Alabama or Georgia or somewhere to get a car that is not wrecked with rust. And when you're spending $8 grand, you're going to get an older vehicle, and that's just the way that goes. So anyways, over 100 people have now contributed. Like 112 people have donated to this thing, and you can see the GoFundMe right there. Would you please step up and kick something in for this? I would love to pull the trigger on this thing in the next 2 weeks or so. It'd be very helpful. This van is very, very, very critical for student loan justice. So please help if you will. I thank you. So if you have any questions or comments, and I can see them on Facebook or by all means, throw them out, and I am thrilled to read them aloud on air and kick them around. Tonight, I want to talk about, I don't know if this is number one, but it's top 5 in these questions about whether student loan cancellation will cost the taxpayer money. Now, that's kind of a loaded question, and there are 2 different ways to look at this. We went on Fox News debating this, one of our opponents on this very question, and here is the stripped down version of the argument. It's pretty close, pretty good analogy. If you buy a lottery to $1, you wake up on the right side of the bed, you're feeling lucky. You buy a lottery ticket for $1. You're fully expecting to win $1 million. You scratch off the ticket, and lo and behold, you do not win. Let's say you don't win anything. So the question becomes, did that lottery ticket just cost you $1? Or did that ticket actually cost you $1 million? So you may have your own answer. I think 99%, if not, well, probably 99 or more percent of everybody would say, well, come on, the ticket cost $1, so I lost $1. But our opponents, they would disagree. They would disagree wholeheartedly. They'd say, no. You were expecting to win $1 million. You not only lost $1 million, you lost that dollar too. So you lost $1,001,001. That's what our opponents would say. And so too does the argument go for student loan cancellation. The taxpayers have made back virtually every nickel of original principal that they lent out. And today, that $1.6 trillion in federal student loan debt, it's profit. It's profit to them, and it's unrealized profit, I might add. And so, a lot of people like to say, oh, no, but the CBO, for example, the CBO says that student loan cancellation, the Biden student loan cancellation is going to cost $500 billion or $1 trillion. And the question comes back again. Are the taxpayers spending $500 billion, $1 trillion? Is that actually costing the taxpayers $1 trillion or $500 billion to do Biden's student loan cancellation? No, of course not. This is unrealized gains. This is canceled profit. So they might be losing future income, but even that's a pretty dubious claim for the federal student loan program, guys. Before the pandemic, 60% of all borrowers were not paying. They had stopped paying on their loans. They were done. They were not going to pay. And that was before the pandemic, dudes. Now going forward, I'd be stunned if 20% of the people paid when and if they try and turn the loans back on. I think it's closer to 15%. So is there a little bit of unrealized profit there that they're going to miss out on? Well, yeah. But remember also, guys, the federal student loan program was originally intended to be free of interest. That is President Lyndon Baines Johnson's words. Those are President Lyndon Baines Johnson's words, not mine. And, even Donald Trump, as I said earlier, decried the fact that the government looks at the federal student loan program as a profit center. Like, What does the federal government make a profit on anywhere? Does the Navy make a profit? Does the Army make a profit? Does the Department of Agriculture make a profit on their farms? No, they don't. The federal government was never meant to make a profit on anything. In recent years, that's been corrupted somewhat. I know federal government makes money on like patents and stuff like that these days, but guys, that's wrong. The federal government is not supposed to be a profit-making entity. So people point to the CBO budget all day long and they go, yeah, but that's going to cost the taxpayer because and it's going to impact the budget. And I'm saying, guys, it's a bad budget. Counting on predatory profits from a catastrophically failed and nationally threatening loan scam, unconstitutionally predatory profits, counting on those profits and using them to, fund other programs and stuff in the future, that's bad budgeting. That's not our problem. That's their problem. Now, if you want to talk about real dollars, yeah, the lottery ticket cost $1. And the federal government paid for student loans, their entire portfolio. They paid for those loans many years ago. And they didn't pay anywhere near $1.6 trillion. They probably paid a tiny fraction of that. And the government has made that money back. So actual losses, an actual expense, doesn't exist. So in other words, not just $10,000 or $20,000, all federally owned student loans could be canceled tomorrow by executive order. And the taxpayer would be breaking about even, no real loss. So this is a very, very pernicious debate, and I hope that you're understanding the shaky accounting going on the other side, not on our side, on the other side. And and a lot of people talk about the government's cost of money, saying, "Oh, well, it costs the government carrying charges, interest charges." Well, there again, I don't think so. The government's cost of money has been zero or no zero for the past decade until very recently, and even going back to 2000, the government's cost of money has been nominal, if not zero. So the government's cost of money is very negligible. And if you want to start talking about that, well, let's talk about what sort of benefits the government has realized as a result of having an educated citizenry. Like crime is lower, probably like welfare claims are lower, unemployment claims. Anyways, we can really get into the weeds, and we can take this, we can stretch this debate in any direction we want. But it really comes down to that first thing I just said. If you buy a lottery ticket for $1 and it loses, did you just spend $1? Or did that losing lottery ticket actually cost you $1 million and like $1 or something? Yeah, it's nonsense. So I hope that you guys can understand that logic, and I hope that you'll take that with you going forward, because I know it's overwhelming right now in the media, everywhere you look. 95% of the media, they're like, so how much is this student loan cancellation going to cost? No, it's nonsense. It's complete nonsense. All the loans could be canceled tomorrow, every nickel. Not one dime would be added to the national debt. Not one penny would be drawn from the federal treasury, so no money would be spent. And on balance, the taxpayers would be basically a wash. They might be losing a tiny little bit, but so, and compare that to PPP loans, guys. PPP loans actually did cost the taxpayers. They had to pay that money out, and they never got back even a nickel of those PPP loans. That all added to the national debt. It all required money to be drawn from the treasury. Look at the Silicon Valley Bank customer bailout. It may not be a bank bailout, but it's a customer bailout. So all those millionaire and billionaire, crypto millionaires and billionaires, tech oligarchs and stuff that had money in that bank, the treasury is going to write maybe even all those people checks for the full amount of their deposits. That money did not come from SVB. That money comes from the treasury. like to make them whole, as they say. So that requires money to be drawn from Treasury, added to the national debt. So guys, it's a tough battle we're in. And, you know, the main bitter struggle in this informational war are uneducated people who go, why tax dollars pay for your college? Why should I pay for your college? And I go, guy, what I like to say is, I say, guy, don't flatter yourself. The taxpayers have made a king's ransom on this racket, and it is a racket. It's a scam. So don't worry your pretty little head. You're doing fine. Go find something else to be mad about, like PPP loans or SVB or tax breaks for the rich or any other economic stimulus that we've seen in this country over years and decades past, where it actually did cost the taxpayers money, like actual cost. So guys, we got this. And remember, at the end of the day, no matter what happens with this debate, at the end of the day, the loans will not be paid. The people of Texas are not going to find some way to scrape up $141 billion plus interest and give that money back to the federal government. Now, it's not giving back, but paying that money to the federal government. It ain't gonna happen. Ain't gonna happen. The loans will not be paid. The loans will be canceled. Now, the only question is, do we have to spend the rest of our lives under this predatory debt that would make the founding fathers roll over in their graves if they saw what was going on here? Founding fathers called for uniform bankruptcy rights ahead of the power to declare war and raise an army. So are we going to have to live our lives under this oppressive, ridiculous debt? Or are we going to get cancellation quicker? And, you know, one of our members or one of our friends or someone on Twitter made a point that I thought was pretty interesting. They're like, and this is a very good point. When you're talking to these people, say something like this. Say, look, the loans will be canceled. Like a lot of people are sitting in these IBR, various IDR programs, ICR, pay, repay, etc., public service. And at least according to the letter of the law, or according to those contracts or whatever, according to those income-driven repayment programs, the loans will be canceled after 20 years, 25 years, 10 years public service. So if you want to call that a cost, if you want to call canceling student loans a cost, it's going to cost the taxpayers way more, way more, 20 years from now, to cancel those loans after they've accrued 20 years worth of interest and penalties and fees and everything else. So wouldn't the taxpayer be better off to just cancel the damn things now? I mean, you want to talk about these just nonsensical, ephemeral cost metrics that are just ridiculous. They hold no water in the first place. But as long as we're talking nonsense, let's talk some nonsense. Like if you're in IBR, say, hey, look, you know, my balance right now is, 70 grand, but 20 years, it's going to be, $3,000. I think the taxpayer would probably rather cancel 70 grand now than, who knows, 500,000 20 years from now. So that's sort of a fun thing that you can say to them. I think that's fairly clever. So I'm looking for your comments right now, guys. I'm going to keep it pretty short tonight. I wasn't actually even planning on doing a live stream tonight, but Ed, our fearless co-leader. Hope you're doing well, Ed. We love you. Ed's on a sabbatical right now. A sort of early winter spring sabbatical, as it were. But Ed, we love you. Hope you come back soon. So that's pretty much what I came here to say tonight, guys. The term cost is loaded, and the people who oppose us, the bad people who want to keep this catastrophically failed, nationally threatening, unconstitutionally predatory, vicious, and weaponized loan scam going, the people who love this loan scam and want to keep it going, yeah, they'll talk about cost and cost this and taxpayer expense that. It's complete nonsense. And just rewind this video if you're unclear about any of that. Let me give you one more quick example. And this maybe is maybe slightly more appropriate. Let's say you loan your buddy $100 and he promises to repay you $200. So he ends up paying you, paying, he pays you $150 back. And then all of a sudden he moves to Mexico and you never hear from him again or whatever. So did making that $100 loan to your buddy, did that cost you, did you make money or did you lose money on that loan? Well, you paid you back 150, you lent him 100. So you made money on that loan. Now, our opposition, they would say, no. That loan cost me $50 to make that loan. That's what they would say. So you can see the logical fallacy, the accounting fraud, and it is fraud that they're engaged in. You might ask, Alan, you're accusing the CBO of accounting fraud? Well, I mean, yeah, maybe not the CBO. If you look at the CBO's budget, somewhere in the fine print, they'll say a budget is a forward-looking estimate. And, the way they're using the verb cost, quite frankly, I think it borders on fraud. We saw something very similar with what Enron did. I don't know if you remember the Enron stories. Texas energy company, Enron. What they would do is they had these barges sitting on rivers in Africa, and they needed to show on their books they had a ton of assets on their books. I don't know why. Maybe so they could look better. I don't know. For whatever reason, a big company might want to look rich. So Enron took a look at these barges they had sitting in Africa, and they go, someday that barge is going to produce a gajillion barrels of oil. It was never going to happen. The barge was just sitting there in a river in a swamp in Africa. So they go, you know what? That barge, it may look like it's only worth about 50 grand, but that barge is actually worth $5 billion. And lo and behold, Enron threw $5 billion onto their books. And, I think the total value of all the Enron accounting fraud was on the order of 10 or $20 billion. A lot of money for a private corporation. But guys, the federal student loan program is now sitting at $1,600 billion. So I say fraud that the Congressional Budget Office, that the Government Accounting Office, all the bean counters in the Washington, D.C. swamp, and they are fighting for themselves, guys. Make no mistake. They're fighting for Washington, D.C. What those people are doing and how they're snowing and misleading the American public into thinking that canceling student loans is a cost, it would make Enron accountants envious, truly. This is many orders of magnitude greater than the accounting fraud that we saw at Enron. And I'm very happy to have this debate with anyone because I've studied this problem very carefully over 18 years. We've published, I would say, the most significant and newsworthy pieces of research findings on the student loan problem, I would say, of anyone that I can really think of. We broke the story when student loan debt surpassed credit card debt. We broke the story when it was clear that the federal government was making a profit, not a loss, a profit on defaulted federal student loans. Those are big stories, guys. And we've broken many, many, many different pieces of news in places like 60 Minutes and the Wall Street Journal and Inside Higher Ed and the Chronicle of Higher Education, many places. I can't tell you why the mainstream media has become so catatonic or mouthpiece-like. They're nothing mouthpiece for government propaganda at this point. And it's really sad, guys, because words are important. And so for the people in Washington, Washington, D.C., and I'm not just including the government offices like the CBO and the GAO. In fact, even more so, I'm talking about the cheerleaders of the student loan scam at all these non-governmental organizations in Washington, D.C., places like the Center for a Responsible Federal Budget, and even the Brookings Institute. Like, who's that Adam Looney guy? Give me a break. Canceling student loans will not benefit the wealthy. Exactly the opposite is true. But you can see the propaganda machines that is aligned against us, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I'm here to tell you, we don't have to take this shit. The truth is right in front of us, and it's simple. It's not complicated. You don't have to think really hard about budget forecasts and budget estimates. No. It's very simple what's going on here. But for the sophistry that's coming out of Washington, D.C. in attempt to make this issue complicated where actually it is not, that's where they get us, guys. And all I can tell you, dudes, is this is our fight, the people's fight. And you've got to help us fight, because we will be bamboozled, baffled, and buried by this bullshit if we allow the sort of fraud like I discussed tonight to win the day in the public discourse. We've got a very loud voice. We've got over 1 million members now in our group, between our petition, our Facebook group, our other platforms. We've got to use our voices. So there's one thing I'm going to ask everybody to do tonight, if you have not yet, and I think that's 99.99% of everybody who's going to watch this live stream. Get a letter to the editor published in your local newspaper. Call for the return of bankruptcy protections to student loans. I'm not going to bore you with the details, but if you want cancellation, no matter what you want with your student loans, we've got to get the right of bankruptcy returned. Whether you would ever or never file is not important. Founding fathers called for bankruptcy and had the power to declare war and raise an army in the Constitution. We've got to get our bankruptcy rights back. Until we do, we're screwed. We're going to be begging Joe Biden or Trump or whoever the next president is forever to actually solve this problem. We've got to get the power of bankruptcy back on our side in order to have any kind of a muscle in this debate. We've learned that over 18 years. I hope that you will take my word for it if you don't understand it. But if you don't understand it, just go to bit.ly/bankruptcy is critical. All one word, lowercase. bit.ly/bankruptcy is critical. And you can read it. You can read why that is true for yourself. So get a letter to the editor published, please. We need you to. We've already gotten like 14 or 15 published. We're getting another one published here in the state where I am in tomorrow. Good on me. Good on Jackie Abron for probably getting, I think, 8 pieces published across Texas, and I think maybe even Florida and even nationally. To Nicholas Linky in Utah. Kudos to Lisa Ansell in California. We're getting a lot of letters published. We need more. We need you to write a letter to your editor tonight and send it in tonight. Look up or down on our Facebook group, and you can find any number of examples of letters to the editor that you can use if you're not sure what to say. Please get that. It will help just immensely. The last thing I'm going to say tonight, finish where I started. Please donate for the SLJ van, guys. Just please do it. I need to hit the road. We need to get this sucker going. This summer is going to be very important for us. 112 people have already kicked in. Be the 113th or 14th or whatever it is. We can't do this without you guys. We are a true grassroots group. We will cease to exist without very nominal financial support from y'all. Hope you can appreciate that. I hope that you guys all can appreciate what all this group has gotten done, both on bankruptcy and on student loan cancellation, particularly in the past 4 years. We are stronger now than we've ever been. We blow past all the haters like they're nothing, because they are nothing. They have no argument. But stick with us, guys. We know how to fight this battle as it needs to be fought. And that's always been true. And it's more true today than it's ever been. So hang in, dudes. We got this. I'll be back tomorrow. But please, just get this done. This is your battle. You have no idea how important you are, well, you have no idea how important you can be and should be. So thank you, Jackie. Okay, guys, I'll see you tomorrow. Good luck and Godspeed and God bless.